panelist, Mr. Shri Ullas Parikar, Director MRAI, who is going to moderate the session. I request Ullas ji be on the dais. Mr. Sandeep Patel, founder, NEPRA. Mr. Prashant Khandelwal, Senior VP, Ganesha Ecosphere Limited. Mr. Stephen Barrett, President, Chemical Division, Balrampur Chini Mills Limited. Mr. Vaibhav Rathi, Senior Technical Advisor, GIZ India. And Dr. Prafulla Shinde, Regional Marketing Manager, Londell Bessel. I request all the attendees to give them a big round of applause to all our distinguished panelists for joining us today, for spending their valuable time to discuss more on the plastic waste recycling policy, circularity and sustainability. To start with the session, I would like to introduce Shri Ullas Parikar, Director MRAI, who is going to moderate these sessions. Mr. Ullas Parikar is a global consultant for waste management, circular economy, industrial symbiosis, policy advocacy, AFR and co-processing. He has worked experience of more than 38 years. He founded a new circular economy initiatives named Industrial Symbiosis for Circular Economy, ISCE. He has implemented more than 40 projects, large, medium, small projects. He is a co-author of a book titled Sustainable Management of Waste Through Co-Processing, which is published by Sprinkler Publications from Singapore. With this, I would like to hand over this session to the Ullas Parikar. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shinde. Good afternoon. You know, I have a very, very knowledgeable and highly experienced panel in the area of plastic waste recycling that we are going to talk about. I briefly introduce each one of the panel members that we have. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Sandeep Patel. He is founder of NEPRA. Mr. Patel is a trailblazer in India's waste management and recycling industry. He is founder of NEPRA Group, working for over 2 decades in waste management and recycling space in India. He is also president of the National Solid Waste Association of India. A round of applause to Mr. Sandeep Patel, please. The next is Mr. Prashant Khandelwal. He is Senior VP, Ganesha Ecosphere Limited. He has headed projects and operations for more than 27 years in plastic recycling. He is director in APR Bharat, an association of food-grade rPET recycling industries, and an advisory member of BIS Committee on Food Grade. Expertise in plastic recycling, a substantial experience in plastic recycling. He is from the group Ganesha Ecosphere Limited, operating as Senior VP. A round of applause for Mr. Prashant, please. Next panelist is Mr. Stephen Barrett. Stephen Barrett is the President of the Chemicals Division of Balrampur Chini Mills Limited. You may be wondering what Balrampur Chini Mills is doing in plastics, but you will be amazed to know that this is the company which is trying to produce bioplastics. the polylactic acid plastics. And Mr. Stephen Barrett is an expert, and he is in charge for setting up this particular project. He has over 13 years expertise in biopolymer sector, has operated in 7 countries, dedicating more than 14 years to Asia and Middle East. And he has over 20 years of experience in Europe. He has worked in different sections, different sectors, and he has also been able to showcase societal benefits of the well-designed biopolymers across the globe. Please welcome Mr. Stephen Barrett with a round of applause, please. The next panelist is Vaibhav Rathi. He is the Senior Technical Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy of GIZ, India. Vaibhav is a Senior Advisor at GIZ. He is an expert in circular economy and climate change with over 13 years experience in the development sector. Successfully completed sustainability assessments and implementation of innovative low-carbon technologies in the cement and construction sector. So we have Mr. Vaibhav Rathi. Please welcome him with a round of applause. And the last panelist is Dr. Prafulla Shinde. He is the Regional Marketing Manager of LyondellBasell, established business professional with 18 years of experience in sales, marketing, and new business development in the polymer sector. Core competencies include commercial excellence, market analysis, strategy management, product launch, share growth, market application expansions. So, a round of applause for Mr. Prafulla Shinde, please. So we have 5 very eminent panelists who are going to deliberate and provide their views, share their views on the plastic recycling, how to take it forward, how does it support the circular economy, what kind of policies are going to be favoring, what modifications, new policies are required. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have a fantastic time next about 45-50 minutes. So please fasten your seat belts and be ready. So just to initiate this particular panel discussion in the right spirit, I would like to start a small presentation. I would like to take maybe 5 minutes to set the ball rolling in terms of what is it that we want to discuss. So can I have my presentation, please? Yeah. Okay, doesn't matter. So, so basically, plastic waste recycling, what does it involve? You have plastic waste, which is an ugly to see sight. You need to convert that into an excellent quality raw material so that it can be utilized as a replacement to the virgin materials. So you need, therefore, a processing step. And this processing step has to be such that it gives the virgin quality material out of this operation. I said the plastic waste is is not so good sight, but it needs to be collected. There has to be a supply chain for that. Not just that, the entire collection process has to have an incentive there. There has to be processes and systems which will ensure that the material will move for the recycling purposes. So there is a process which is required to be set in. For that, we need a lot of effort. Usually, this activity is carried out by the informal sector. Informal sector, therefore, is a very, very dominant player in this recycling business, not just from the point of view of collection, but also from the point of processing, from the point of view of bringing it back into the marketplace. But there are issues associated with this particular community, the informal community, because they are not equipped with the science and technologies which is required to implement their operations in an environmentally sound manner. And that's where there's a problem. And that's where they don't get recognition, and that's where they don't therefore invest. They don't get funds, they don't invest, and therefore they are not able to, set up good facilities and also produce good material which will fetch them more money. So they are in a very vicious circle. And then you have the other players who are also very important in terms of setting the standards, policies which are aligned for the growth of the recycling industry. So which are basically the authorities that we talk about. So they also have to play a very important role. If they have to play, they should be able to learn, they should be able to get the right implementation processes. They should be learning, they should be understanding, and then they should be filing, drafting the policies. Most of the operators in this plastic waste recycling are small sector operators. And these small sector operators do not have infrastructure to efficiently segregate, efficiently clean the processes. And therefore, they don't achieve the quality that we talk about. Today, we have an EPR mandate where the plastic waste derived materials, the recycled materials as we call them, they have to replace the virgin material. But the quality, to get the right quality material, the small scale industry is not equipped. So something needs to be done further towards that. So there are variety of, situations, variety of impediments, variety of challenges which are there in implementing the recycling of plastics and moving towards the circular economy. So what we are going to do is discuss these aspects. In addition, there are also technologies for recycling, whether they are mechanical, they are chemical, and which technologies we must adopt, which technologies are most sustainable, is also a big task, a big question which is in front of us, which also we need to understand. We need to learn them. There are also new polymers which have capability of delivering the same result or the application as we are currently doing with other plastic materials. How do I ascertain, how do I get them on board? What is required to do that? So all these are the issues related to the plastic waste recycling and circular economy, which this panel is going to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be ready for that. So, I would like to start with Mr. Sandeep Patel. As I said, Sandeep Patel has huge experience in all the sectors of plastic waste recycling, whether it is collection, whether it is segregation, whether it is automation, whether it is recycling, processes, and you name it. So what I want to ask him is, since EPR is mandating that the plastic waste derived materials should replace virgin, and I know I've traveled with him sometimes to understand the efforts that he's taking towards this aspect. I want to know from him, what is it that is there in front of us today? It's, I think, around 3 or 4 years this exercise is going on. So what is there? What is the status? What is happening? What needs to be done, if it is not happening? So, Sandeep, over to you.
Thank you, sir. I think people who are in the industry, they know the journey is slow but moving. As it happens always that people will always choose the low-hanging fruit first. And EPR is mandating reuse and everything, but the speed at which every single commodity in plastic needs to move, probably that speed is not there for all the commodities. Some commodities are moving way too faster, where probably the risk is going to get much higher for multiple stakeholders, which are going to be probably there in this space. So the imbalance is definitely there in understanding different commodities and how it will evolve. But positive is now people have realized there's a big business opportunity. So a lot of interest coming in from people who are not from the industry, but they want to get into it. They want that EPR should be a silver bullet, which is not the case. So we are also now trying to make everybody talk and understand that EPR is not the silver bullet which will make your business profitable. So you have to have a business model which will be supported by EPR but not be driven by EPR. So I think overall internal stakeholders have started focusing on creating more infrastructure for processing, because end of the day waste management, I always say, is about having a bridge where you can take the toll. So if you have the infrastructure, you might be able to earn from EPR, or you might be able to earn from the processing of it and service your clients with the best possible practices and all. So there is significant amount of infrastructure which is being committed by existing stakeholders from the industry, new industry players coming into play. But there is very small movement to the value chain side of it, wherein the commitment towards value chain development is done by very few people from the sector. Prashant ji and the team are working towards it. There are other companies which are working towards it, where they are looking at how to support their ecosystem. But again, the challenge is always going to be about how you're going to disrupt, because I think the biggest challenge is going to be about building that trust in the value chain. And trust can only come with transparency in movement of material, movement of, I think, communication, and how it can bring more consistency, quality in the waste streams. And of course, at the same time, the expectation of what grade to deliver at a recycler's end, because profitability of a recycle will decide how the whole value chain is going to evolve. So while you deliver a material, the transparency, trust, quality of material, all will decide, and that is something which as an organization, as a group, we are now focusing more on to help create those standards, create consistency in the process, and bring more profitability to each stakeholder, because end of the day the collection ecosystem would require an incentive that why they are doing it. They should have more significant level of trust to the recyclers and the ecosystem, because most of the time there is a dispute between a seller and a buyer because of quality of issues, and both are not wrong. Beauty about the situation is both are not wrong, because waste is inconsistent, and it's a issue which is always causing distrust to multiple stakeholders.
So, I think very rightly said. This entire thing has to be based on a business model approach. Then things will work very well. To establish the business models, you need infrastructure. Infrastructure has to be established. The operations have to happen in a manner that the value chain is properly addressed and with trust, which is also a very, very important aspect. And there should be profitability in the entire operation. So that's where I think the EPR finding success with the recycled material getting replaced, or is able to replace the virgin material. So very well said, Sandeep. I think points excellent, very, very excellent points. And I'm sure, as we get along, we'll get more details to discuss on this aspect. Now, I would like to move to Mr. Prashant. Just give me a minute. So, you know, you have already done that in PET. The entire process, you know, you are able to convert that into a good, profitable business model. The trust that Sandeep is talking about also has been built into the system. The infrastructure, you know, the way the PET recycling is happening is also gearing up, and a lot is happening there. So there are also more things which are expected in terms of recycling, like bottle to bottle, bumper to bumper, and also new products possibly, you know, which will bring the plastic recycling on a much larger kind of a canvas. So can you throw some light on these aspects from your end?
Thank you, Ullasji. Basically at Ganesha, as you explained that we have started 30 years back in Ganesha Ecosphere for the PET bottle recycling. And we, at initial stage, we were converting these PET bottle into polyester staple fiber, basically the textile chain material. And we have created a complete ecosystem across India and abroad in Nepal also. In Nepal, we have worked with GIZ also. In collaboration with Coca-Cola and GIZ, we have done a robust collection system across Nepal back in 2013. So basically, and the total capacity of Ganesha Ecosphere is 196,000 tons per annum, generating a revenue of more than 1800 crore for the current fiscal year. Out of this 196,000, 155,000 belongs to bottle to textile, bottle to fiber, which we have created in last 30 years. But the last expansion we have done was in bottle to bottle, which is more of, as you explained, it is a circular, sustainable accept, because in this you are creating the same product out of same product. So textile, we can say that it is a downcycling of the PET bottle, where we are losing some good characteristics of PET bottles, which can be converted into a better product. One is bottle to bottle, and there are other material also, like furnitures, some composite plastic material, which are of higher grade. This is going to replace into the whole plastic sector. This is going to happen in next, I can say, 5 to 10 years down the line, because of mandatory regulations which are coming in. Plastic waste and management system introduced by Government of India in 2016, later on amended in 2018 and 2022, in which it has been mandated to use recycled content in all plastic packaging, whether it is food grade or non-food grade, which is being implemented from 2025 onwards. So we proudly say that yes, we have done a complete modification across the recycling chain, from collection to putting up a technology which has food grade approvals from stakeholders like EFSA, US FDA, FSI, and to have a faith from the buyers, the brand owners who are using this material. Now we are supplying to all big brand owners across India and globe, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Diageo, Marico, IKEA. So yes, but this needs a robust system to be established across, because this is not a small thing, it is a big thing, and a very small steps has been taken till now. In this, we have different stakeholders, producers, brand owners, the regulatory authorities, the standards, and the recyclers. So the supply chain start from, like Sandeep ji has already done a tremendous job in putting up a traceable supply chain. So you see the system needs the faith and they need a traceability till the end of the material from the collection of materials. So yes, we have to put a lot of efforts to bring that faith in the system, in which we also need some points which has to be taken care by the regulatory authority, to putting up standards, to putting up more audits, etc. And to put a standard to that level that we can, as a consumer, at the end, I am as a consumer or you are as a consumer, we can have a faith in the product, that what is coming to me as a recycled product is as good as virgin. It does not have any chemical or migration issues or some contamination which can impact on the packed material which has been packed into it.
So, see how the things of recycling has emerged. We had initially the PET to staple fiber, yarns, and as I was very anxious to know whether bottle to bottle is happening, already is happening. That's wonderful. Not just bottle to bottle, but bottle to bottle for even food applications. So, lot of effort, is happening towards putting the circular economy in place. And it is not easy, as Mr. Ganesha, or as Mr. Prashant already said, that you require collection which is very responsible, traceable. Where is it coming from? We should be aware about. We are talking about technology which will help achieve the kind of product which is, FSSI acceptable kind of. So a lot of effort is required to be put, and that's where I think the success gets implemented. And as Mr. Sandeep had said, the infrastructure, the trust, these are all the, I would say, the buzzwords, the right words, the important words, the key words, through which the process of recycling and process of circular economy moves. I would like to come to Stephen, to you now. You are bringing a new process, new product, new technology into the whole, into this particular polymer, market or polymer business in the country. First of all, we would like to know a little bit about what it is. We have never heard, we don't know much about the polylactic acid or other biopolymers that we talk about. We also would like to know what kind of applications they can serve. We also would like to understand, why biopolymer? I mean, why not? What is the need for doing all that, right? And then the advantages, of course, and then further to that, what is going to be happening for recycling that material? Over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Ulasji. I think I need about half an hour for that, so the others cannot speak.
But you have about
to make it short. Thank you very much. So we are the second biggest sugar mill in India. We are the biggest ethanol producer. We have 10 sugar mills in UP. What we basically do is, just to explain the process, we take sugar, ferment it to lactic acid. Lactic acid is a completely natural molecule. You have it when you have a muscle ache in your body. You have it on every compost heap. And then we take the water out and polymerize that. This has two advantages. The advantage number one, it's a bio-based polymer. Advantage number two, it can be composted according to the Indian standard IS 17088. And then we already look into terminology, what actually is a bioplastic, and we look at beginning of life and end of life, and both can be a biopolymer or a bioplastic. The good thing is we then use biogenic carbon, because if we want to sustain the life on Earth, we actually have to go away from fossil-based carbon, and that's an advantage. But it will also be very an advantage to the traditional polymers, because it's compostable. And if you want to recycle the other materials, we first have to take at source the biomass waste out. And that is actually, then compostable polymers are helping, because they allow us to collect the biomass waste, so that the other plastic, the other metal, the other paper and glass is actually not contaminated with food waste, because that's one of the biggest problems we have. We are looking in setting this up together with the government to actually demonstrate compostability or the better biogas, because that will allow us to generate energy and also fertilizer to replace some of the fossil-based fertilizer with compost in the end. And there's just a study out which says 20% can be replaced with compost, so fossil-based fertilizer can be replaced, and that will be very beneficial, also because India has roughly 10 to 15% of greenhouse gas emissions from not managed food waste, and that's something which we need to tackle. And I think as industry we have to see how we can lead there. Now for the recycling part, PLA can be mechanically recycled, it can be sorted, that has been shown. So if you have a sorting, there we have a problem that the code is now 7, but we are trying to change that basically you get a separate code. It can be recognized by near infrared, so you can sort it out mechanically, this is working. But I think we also have to understand that mechanical recycling will only be kicking the can down the road, because once the maximal limit of a recycled content in any application is reached, virgin inflow will equal recycled material outflow. So we need chemical recycling, and PLA can be chemically recycled. It's very easy because you can bring it back to lactic acid, you purify, and then you repolymerize again. So we don't need sugar there. And I'm really looking for partners who are willing to help us to bring the PLA back for this chemical recycling. And I think that's also where the link is up, because the infrastructure to bring the products back, I'm very thankful for my predecessors, will be exactly the same. We need this infrastructure. Now the last question was what materials can be made of. We predominantly target the single-use plastics, cutlery, straws, tape and whatever has been banned. Many more products can be made, but we also have to realize bio-based polymers, and you can make bio-based polyethylene or polypropylene, they make a lot of sense everywhere. But compostable materials only make sense if the end of life is actually suitable for that. So why would you make a car compostable? Doesn't make sense. Why would you make a household appliance compostable? Doesn't make sense. So I think bio-based polymers are an addition to the current polymers to allow an additional end-of-life function, better recyclability, and also additional functionality for some bio-based or compostable polymers.
So Stephen, it's so exciting to learn about these particular plastics and their biogenic nature. You're not replacing you are not exploiting the fossil materials. You are also having compostable, features into that. Then it can be segregated using a technology which is available today. It's also can be utilized and should be utilized for applications where it makes sense. All that is understood. But my one major question is, what if it gets mixed up with the normal plastic material? And what is it that, is it possible? Will it happen? And if it does, what is it that you are looking forward to doing something on that?
It will get as much mixed up as PET and PP and PE in a sorting plant. It will be the same, but it can be, we have already shown that it can be sorted out. There are studies which have been done in Europe that it can be sorted as well and as easy as any other plastic. I think this is not the problem. The problem will be what cross-contamination limits can we actually accept for mechanical recycling. If I take it back for chemical recycling, I can pay 50 rupee per kilogram because I don't need sugar then. Maybe more, that's what I have to figure out. But if you mechanically recycle, then the question is what cross-contamination limits are actually acceptable. And that's what we said before in the car industry. PVC is a generic problem because of this cross-contamination.
Right.
And there are also studies there, because there is with the PET industry the question, is PLA not contaminating the PET? It's also been shown that up to 5% there is actually no impact.
Okay. So cross-contamination is a possibility, but certainly I think can be addressed, is what we are learning from Stephen. One last question, very interesting topic, therefore, one last question is, we have been discussing about the replacement of virgin material with recycled material. But the question is, how do I identify recycled material? There's no label saying this is recycled material. There's no genetic, identification, DNA for it to be identified. So I believe you have been doing some work towards that. What is it that is happening? Is there something which is feasible to be explained?
This is really not, of course we will try to get a different code, and we are working already with the BIS for the NEET PLA, but I think the traceability is a key question. And what we will do as industry is basically we will allow our customers in a website to trace back their material, so that if we deliver, our customers can basically link back to us and say, our lot was based on Balrampocini Mill's lot of this, so that you can establish traceability. We are also looking in a handheld scanner to help the government to identify materials in the market in the end, because enforcement is a critical part. But I would really like to work together with the industry, because I might be not an expert, know a lot about biopolymers, but about recycling and the challenges we have there, I'm a novice in India. I don't know a lot, so I'm very happy to actually be here and learn more from the industry today.
So I think Sandeep has got something to say about this, identifying recycled materials. Sandeep, please.
So, it's good that, sir, you asked this question, because, at Ishitwa, we were discussing the same problem about sorting and differentiating between a recycled content and a material which is made from fresh virgin. We are working on a project right now, probably next couple of months you should be ready, where we'll be able to define what's inside the content as part of fillers or something else, which is having composition of that content. So we'll be able to do sorting on that basis as well in near future.
So let's remember, although there's a mandate under EPR that the recycled material must replace virgin, but we cannot, as of now, very clearly define the recycled material content in any given application or a product. And that's where I think there's a need required, and a lot of work is happening. The success of EPR probably would depend upon that, because if somebody puts virgin material to say this is recycled material, it's very difficult. It will defeat the purpose of EPR and the circular economy that we are talking about. But I'm very happy that, the panel is very sensitized on this issue, the experts, and they are working on that. And I'm sure the solution will come in next 2, 3, 4 months' time to facilitate the direction of circular economy in which we are moving toward. May I now come to Vaibhav? Vaibhav, basically, at GIZ, you take very many initiatives pertaining to the circular economy, and especially, the plastic waste. And you have been a part of, I know, various projects which have been implemented. So, you have also been instrumental in bringing several policies, which promote recycling and also, therefore, the circular economy. So we would like to understand from you, what is it that, is happening as new in terms of the policies, and then what is it that you feel are the current lacunas in the policies or in the systems, processes, whatever you feel like, and how do we really overcome those challenges moving towards the zero waste, the circular economy approach?
Thank you, Mr. Ullas. So at GIZ, in the panel, there has been several mentions of value chain. For plastic waste recyclers, the basic thing is they need plastics, and they need it enough quantity and in proper quality. Because at certain levels of tonnage, the business doesn't work. It has to be certain, kind of level of tonnage that a plastic recycling can actually make ends meet, but with enough quality as well. And that has been an issue in India, that the plastics is there, generated by the cities, by the generators, but it just doesn't reaches in enough quantity and proper quality to a recycler. Even if it is there, the technology is available. So few of our studies, which were commissioned by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and Ministry of Environment, were focusing on understanding the value chain of plastics or dry waste in India, and what is the actual value chain which is running in the cities telling us how it is working. So those studies are focused on that. In 2019, we did a study for 21 cities on understanding dry waste value chain in the country. The reflection that the study gave us was a known knowledge, but rather we were now able to say those recommendations with more data-backed, kind of confidence. What it told us was that the value chain of dry waste is not linear in any city. It is very dynamic. The second thing that it told us that if there is a recycler of a particular material available in a city which is about 150 kilometers radius, that material actually is picked up by an informal sector because there is a value attached inherently into the ecosystem, because there is a recycler sitting somewhere buying that waste and then passing on that cost to an itinerant buyer, to a rack picker or our informal sector. But if there was no recycler available, say within this radius, mostly that material was not picked up by the informal sector, which tells us the indigenous knowledge that informal sector has, that they know what to pick up and what not to pick up, because what is fetching them value, what is not fetching them value. But in terms of the technology to recycle, not just PET or PVC or other MLPs, I think India has the technologies to recycle. They are working at various levels because there is a business case for some materials. There is no business case for other materials because either they are not picked up in enough quantities or quality, or they are not reaching. Second is there is no understanding of how the value chain works at a city level. So what through this study we try to tell the businesses as well as the urban local bodies is that before even thinking of going into an infrastructure investment at a city level to recycle, first understand your value chain and gain that knowledge through the study that we did and the approach that we followed. It took us 3 months or 2 months for a city to understand the value chain. We applied a polygon mapping approach to understand the value chain, where the waste is generated and what waste is going to what distance. And when we mapped that, there were certain ways which were basically ending up very closer to the city, certain ways which are going very far. So for example, PET travels about 1,000 kilometers, still has a business value, but an MLP maybe not, because there is no recycler available. So there was a polygon then started, kind of happening. And that's what we said, do a polygon mapping of all the materials and understand which material basically does not have a taker. That was one study. The other that we did recently was for CPCB on understanding how to characterize single-use plastics in the country. Single-use plastics ban is there, but it is not working because you still find single-use plastics in India. How to characterize that? At least how a ULB can characterize. So we prepared, we did a 28 city characterization of SUP, formulated a SOP for that, and now CPCB is instructing all the SPCBs and ULBs to follow that SOP to characterize single-use plastics. Now, in recent future, we are going to do a LCA-based approach on understanding single-use plastics carbon emissions and vis-a-vis an alternative material to that carbon emissions. So for that, we are now building a methodology to assess carbon emissions of single-use plastics ban. What we are essentially doing is 21 items or 28 items are banned across the country. There are certain items which are still there. Polythene bags, you see it visibly. About 90% of the mix in single-use plastics is still polythene bags which are available. But there is an alternative to it. There is a plastic bag to it or a cloth bag to it. What is the carbon emissions, net carbon emissions vis-a-vis if you compare both of them through an LCA approach? So we are developing a methodology to assess the carbon emissions of a plastic bag versus a polythene versus a cloth bag or a paper bag. Similarly for straws. Straws has been a successful ban because we have alternatives for it. But from the carbon point of view, will a steel straw or a paper straw emit more as compared to a plastic straw? That's something that the methodology will tell. And that's what we are trying to build up for MOEFCC. That's on the value chain and also on connecting the carbon linkages to the plastics and its alternative. The other part that we are working on is financing. The gentlemen sitting on the panel, I think they are outliers in terms of banks see them as, kind of bankable assets to give loans to because they are so big. But there are so many recyclers in the country which are not that big. They don't, kind of make ends meet. And that's why they are not a profitable, kind of businesses for banks to give loans to. Now, how to change that mindset of banks for smaller to mid-sized companies? We have developed a product specially for waste management. We are calling it as risk sharing facility. It's something, not a new concept. It has been done for solar in the past. We have done it for waste management companies in which plastic recyclers are a part of it. What it does, basically it buffers the risk on the default. If a plastic recycler defaults on the EMI, it buffers that risks. And this is basically, initially we have seeded it with about 40 million, with about 4 million euros. But right now it is housed in SIDBI. And now SIDBI is actively promoting this RSF and trying to get more funds to, kind of expand it to 100 million or 200 million euros. Even Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is very much interested in expanding this RSF so that, the kitty size increases. So that is on the finance part that we have done. So with all these measures, at the national level and the state level, what we are doing is we are trying to support EPR. There is another big question about true cost of EPR. What the brands are paying to the recyclers, is it the correct price to even manage that waste? That is not out there. And that's why I think Sandeep was mentioning EPR should not, kind of drive recycling, but rather be a part of it. It would have been driving recycling if the true cost of recycling was given. But that is not the case. But there are no studies for it.
Wonderful. Well, I think the most important takeaways are in that the collection happens if the opportunity for recycling and therefore economic opportunity is there. That's something. So systems have to be around. Then the circular economy will get promoted. Otherwise, only one single plastic where the recycling is available will happen. The other plastics probably will remain and will go into the dump yards. There are several other angles, which the business has to look at from finance point of view, from quality point of view, the carbon emission point of view. So several aspects have to be looked into while designing the policy is what I think I'm just, I'm able to understand from what the deliberations of Vaibhav. I come to you, Prafulla. You are a market leader in terms of, developing the technologies, manufacturing the polymers, marketing high quality materials, etc., etc. Now, given the situation of the collection difficulties, the operational difficulties, the policy difficulties, etc., how do you think, the process of circular economy should be moved from your consideration? Yeah.
Thanks, Ullashi. And it's a really right question. And I think I'm the last here to conclude on, so I'll give a justice to this question. So what we feel is that the challenges are actually also bringing a lot of opportunities on the table today. So when we talk about waste management as a challenge, then as a largest polymer producer in the world. So when we talk about the footprint of polymers, we are, I think, 450 billion metric ton is a total polymer consumption of the world today. And out of that, most of the consumption is happening at the APAC level. And in India, when we talk about it, so each and every polymer which we are collecting today, even if it is a PET bottle or if it is a PP rigid plastics, or if it is a flexible milk pouch, or even MLP, right? So we have certain degree of contamination, which makes it more challenging. So whereas technology producers, where we are actually having more than 100 years of history for making the polymers, it was a challenge for us almost a decade ago that how we can make sure that there is no contamination which will be carried forward and it will not be a part of the human adulteration. Because you are going to pack the food into it or lot of other stuff or even healthcare, which can cause certain issues. So I think today we have a great technology platform available, which is able to trace mechanical recycled polymers, get it back to the mainstream, and also give a right application platform. When we talk about available PCR from the mechanical recycling, most of the solutions are already ready, and thanks to even a good waste management systems which are coming up in India, we are able to do various drives with the end users. Just to add on that, the large-scale problem in India, which is about the dry waste and wet waste, right? So we always see there's a food adulteration which is actually coming forward, food deteriorated food as well as deteriorated plastics, which is having a high risk to move forward into the mainstream. So we have developed certain advanced chemical recycling models, which we have started scaling up since last 2 years. And also we have launched a plant of almost 50 KTA in close to in a bit of the Europe, and also we are looking forward for similar opportunities in India. And that is something which is going to be a show changer, because advanced chemical recycling is going to have a strong connect in between the petrochemical industry and the waste management systems. So whatever the type of waste will be, the advanced sorting will give a right feed to the advanced chemical recycling, and advanced chemical recycle will able to make indistinguishable polymers which are as similar as the virgin polymers, and that will solve the entire purpose of the entire for all of us. And just to close it on the part of what certain challenges and on one of the policy which we look forward. And so the one challenge what we face is for today, that the traceability model, in India, it's not getting robust, and that is something which is a necessity of our country. So being polymer resin manufacturing company, we feel that we need to add more robustness to the traceability. Definitely we have ISCC which is helping us on that, but we need to have certain Indian platforms on having the measures or taking the actions on traceability. Because India need to have our own solutions. We cannot have all the time global solutions localizing in India. We need to be independent on traceability, and if we do that, then we'll be able to scale it up in a much better way. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prafulla. I think, very rightly said, the advanced recycling technologies will be very, very useful in taking forward this circular economy approach. And of course, traceability is a very important aspect in the whole process. As far as I am concerned, we have come to the end of the panel discussion. And I would like to, open the floor for the questions from the audience. But before that, what Binisha did some time back in e-waste panel, I would like to do here. And that is, I want each one of the panel members to, say one ask or say, to which, the government should do to facilitate the co-processing in the country. One aspect could be a policy, could be some other incentive, whatever that you feel like, right? But one thing from each one of you is what I would like to ask, but after the question, so you can think meanwhile, okay? So, so this up.
Thank you. Wonderful panel. Weber was very politely and very humbly putting up things together. And congratulations to the entire panel, but so much so for Weber. Weber, you touched upon an issue which is very strongly felt, that the producers, importers, and brand owners, what are the costs they are paying for the collection under the EPR? It's just not a question for you, it's just a suggestion. Since GIZ does a lot of studies and assessments which lead into policy formulations, would it be a wise thing to hold a discussion around it along with the brand owners and the other people who are like Sandeep sitting there in NEPRA, and maybe a half-day session in really understanding what are the factors leading to it? Over to you. Thank you.
Actually, such a consultation was already organized by UNDP some 1.5 years back. I think you were a part of it. But the only question here is it can be done, and it should be done. The question here is how open the recyclers and the MRF operators are in sharing the actual actual cost of operations. And I think some of them, which are known in the country, have come up with a real ask that, yes, this is what I spend on, say, managing 1 kg of MLP, and this is what I should get. But there has to be an open discussion around it to come to actual numbers which we can work out with.
Sandeep, would you like to say from the other side, what is your view on that?
See, I think there are different ways of seeking this information, and sometimes, the recyclers or the entrepreneurs, they are not very comfortable answering certain questions because, a lot of things reflect through that part. But I've also, I think in earlier one of the calls with you, I did mention that it may vary from geography to geography because there are parameters which will define why an EPR cost in one geography will be different from EPR cost in other one. We have to take overall logic around it, talk to 5 people, get them to vet that logic. I think that would be a better way to come to a range of saying this should cost 1.5 rupees, this should cost 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 20 rupees. Because what is happening, and where this question comes in, is because human nature is that we will go for the easiest and the shortest and the most commercially viable decision. And what suffers is the rural part of the country, what suffers is the much tougher to access by road part of the country, that is northeast or the hilly areas. And that is where, I think the EPR needs to be done more than the city areas. Cities need to be much more confident with their own budgets and manage EPR there. But rural and tough to reach areas need to be supported more with EPR for collection side of it. So that's my personal belief, because sometimes I do come with more logical thing as a business person or as an entrepreneur, but many people might not like it.
I think that's another way of looking at it. Yes, Mr. Prashant.
So yes, I fully agree to Vaibhav and Sandeep. The main thing what we have to look into it, that the product what we are going to collect and how difficult it is. The EPR for a PET bottle cannot be similar to what a MLP required, because you see the number of package, the weight of PET bottle and the weight of flexible plastic.
Very
so
different.
we have to think differently, yes, of course, and then only we can get to a true EPR cost to each collection.
No, I think we fully agree with you. And so this time I'm sure panel has answered your question. Any other question, please?
Hi.
Yes, please.
Hi, this is Sethu Raman, CEO from SAMI Consulting Group from Chennai.
Yes, please.
I believe in the rubber which hits the road. I have a problem in the ground reality from HDPE and LDPE, PCR granules into workable format. You need a filter of 100 to 120 mm, which will be free from carbon and other foreign materials. Is there any kind of a solution available? It's a question open to all. Thank you.
Anybody would like to take that? Yeah.
Yes, there are few recyclers who are making very good quality of PE and HDP and PP recycled granules. Post discussion, we can meet and I can guide you to contact them.
So the solution is there, sir. So, I mean, you'll have to wait for a few minutes. Okay. Any other question? There's somebody who was raising a hand. Yeah, please, there in the corner. And that's the last question.
Hello, this is Brian Oppe from ADREM. A couple of you spoke about advanced recycling, chemical recycling, especially for the PLA material. My question on that is, if you have polyethylene, polypropylene, this can be easily mechanically recycled. Of course, for food-grade material, it's not always possible. For PLA, you're speaking about chemical recycling, but can the cost of chemical recycling compete to virgin plastics? Because we have seen that there were a lot of investments the last few years. A lot of these investments have been cancelled because they cannot compete with the virgin plastics at the moment.
Yeah, Stephen.
I think that's, if I would have the answer here, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But I think it's a very good question. I think the problem I see is that mechanical recycling is the kicking the can down the road. We'll not be able with mechanical recycle to recycle it forever. We basically then go into different application. It has already been said, we go into fibers, and in principle we start to replace other materials with it. And the question is, do we really want that? To replace wood with plastic, to replace cotton with plastic, to replace floor tiles with plastics, ceramics and so on. Is that the intention of the government right now? And I think they don't realize that. Now to the cost aspect, I cannot really answer this yet because I first need to be in operation, but I think we are not going to be far off. but then we have a material which can be more or less indefinitely recycled. And this is exactly the question of, can you ensure that the cross-contamination be taken out, or the dangerous contamination for like recycling, and not for downcycling? That's for me the key question.
Yes.
I want to say something, add something to what the gentleman said here. So cost of operation, the fixed cost will go down if the scale is going up. And when we talk about today, if suppose I want to, for my own organization, if we want to even have 10% replacement of the virgin plastics from the fossil fuels to the other feedstock, so there, the advanced chemical recycling will only help us, because that scale is not possible with the mechanical recycling. So we are talking about minimum 1 million ton per month kind of a scale. So it is very difficult to address with the mechanical recycling technology. And once we are achieving that number, then definitely the unit cost will come down. That's a simple mass balance approach. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that settles the panel discussion. I'm very happy, that we have concluded. But the one ask that I have requested from each one, what should government do, or what somebody should do, or the system should do to promote circular economy according to you? It should be a fast pace.
So I think Department of Waste Management was something we discussed and initiate across various departments. So Department of Waste Management and Recycling should be there.
Okay.
Basically, PWMS 2016 has laid the path for plastic recycling. But yes, the targets which in India we have made for achieving in next 5 years down the line, we want all the stakeholders to work very fast, especially the government agencies, MOEF, CPCB, BIS, FSI. Everybody has to go faster to put the regulations, to set the standards, so that the industry can match to the expectation of the regulations and the government. Yes.
Okay, great. Stephen, please.
Enforce the single-use plastic ban for all raw materials, or
Okay.
for all materials.
Okay, wonderful. Vaibhav?
My answer is very local, because constitutionally waste is a state subject, not a national subject. So I would say every city, every 4,500 ULB should have a very stringent local bylaws which disincentivizes non-segregation and incentivizes the informal sector.
Prafulla.
I think government should focus on the deposit refundary scheme, and that is very much essential today. When we talk about the rural area, it will help us to have a more scale on the collection. Yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. A big round of applause for the entire panel, please. Very, very interesting deliberations, very interesting outcomes, and very, very, very important asks. So we come to this conclusion of this particular panel. I think we need to do the honors. So may I request Pramodji to take over the dais.
So it was a really wonderful and knowledge-driven session, and thank you so much for giving your time, and really very, very informative to all of us. Thank you so much once again. I request all the attendees to give one more round of applause to all the distinguished panelists on the dais. Thank you so much. With this, we end this session here. And before that, I would request Mr. Sanjay Mehta ji, President of MRAI, to do the honors to all our distinguished panelists. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just stay. Yeah. Sandeep Patel ji, Nepra. Then yeah. Then Prashant Khandelwal ji. Yeah. Yeah, Vinisha ji. Ha. Also request Prabjot Sodhi sir to be on the dais to do the honors to our distinguished panelists. And I would request Binisha ji to felicitate, yeah, Mr. Stephen Barrett. I would request Binisha ji to felicitate Mr. Rathi from GIZ. I would also request, yeah, Prabjot Sodhi ji to felicitate Dr. Prashant Shinde. Yeah. Sorry, Prafulla Shinde. Sorry, Prafulla. आपके हाथ से. Now request Sanjay Mehta ji to felicitate the moderator of the session, Sri Ullas Parikar ji. Thank you very much for to making this session more insightful and wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. May I request all the panelists to please join us for the group photographs, including Binisha ji and Prabjot ji.